So here we are with a collection of speakers we have done for B&O Automotive throughout the years. We actually were involved with B&O Automotive from day one, where they started with the idea of, let's say we could move into the world of automotive to introduce the brand B&O to new customers. And it was new for them how to do it. We were engaged, and the first 2 or 3 years doing design and concept, trying to settle the whole idea into the industry. And we had some pretty wild concept with things moving out from the doors, working on the centerpiece, just to discover that's actually not what they would like to do. And it ended up saying, we like you to do speaker grills and a fusion about Bang & Olufsen as identity and the car brand as an identity, so it doesn't look like an aftermarket, but something really born into each other. And for many years we handled that process by doing the design and working in a triangle, so doing design and then talking with the people at the auto factory, for example Audi in Ingolstadt, and then the specialist at B&O who was going to produce the aluminium parts, for example. And I would like to hand over the microphone to my colleague here, Jens Christian, who had been working on that.
I'll try and explain to you just some of the generations that we worked our way through with. It's going to be mainly about Audi cars, because the first collaboration B&O did was with Audi cars, in fact, and that sort of led the evolution of the systems along the years. So in the beginning, B&O wanted to establish themselves as a provider of high-end Audi systems for the car industry, and they wanted to show in the car interior that was something special. And so in the beginning, the approach was very much product design driven. And the first grills that came out was when the Audi A8 came out in, I believe, 2005. And these grills were quite unique and geometrically strong, and they really stood out in a nice way in the interior of the Audi A8. And they are highly detailed aluminium parts with two-color anodizing and lathing surfaces and laser engraved logos and speed drilled hole patterns, and everything was just really a high standard compared to what people knew of factory installed systems at the time. And we worked in the beginning, as I said, with the detail of the grills. All the things that are visual to you when you get into the car interior was an important part of it. Of course, audio quality was the main story of this, but you wanted to show that it was something special in the car. And this whole pattern was part of it, doing a highly detailed and customized whole pattern for each and every grille in the car. So you get a nice and even finish to the design, rather than the standard at the time was pretty much just to put a standard hole pattern across the whole grille, and then you would get half holes and things cut up in the edge. So we wanted this precision known from the B&O brand. And then moving on from this was like the top end system in the big Audi cars, and we moved on to the more compact cars. This is from Audi A3 and A4, and together with B&O engineers we developed the round theme to carry over from the more expensive system into these lathed aluminium parts. Here it's black anodized because it's in the dashboard and you cannot have too many reflections, so you go black on the dash. And further develop the whole pattern here, so it actually, you get a good audio transparency in the grille and still a whole pattern which is controlled and precise. And these rings were an affordable way of getting a high quality feel to the grills in the car. So there's been produced quite a few aluminium rings from the B&O Factory 5. That was like the first generation, was this quite product design take on it. And then second generation, Audi asked us, now we've established this collaboration. Now let's do more integrated, more automotive design into it. We don't need to stand out quite as much now. People know about the B&O and Audi collaboration. And so we went and worked on a second generation, which were called dynamic lines. I should maybe show you this more premium part, where we worked with a more automotive design language, and also worked with transparency, because one thing that was a challenge with the very small hole patterns were the sound quality coming through the grille. You want a high transparency in the grille. And so we achieved that very close to 50% on these grilles, which is quite good, especially in automotive grills. So this was like the second generation, much more dynamic, much more in line with the interior of the Audi cars. And in the lower spec cars, you would get the premium systems, and you would have plastic polymer grills and smaller parts in aluminium. And also were introduced in this second generation, we had a thin hairline of light underlining the design and the dynamic lines of the design. So that was quite successful, and they had that across the range of their cars. However, this was visually more noticeable in the interior with the lines compared to the fine holes. So for the third generation, Audi wanted to go back to something that was a little visually less loud. And so we went back to hole patterns, and this time we still continuing the more thorough integration in the design of the interior. And then we started working on something that had the high quality of the first generation, but more integrated in the shape of the interior. And this time we also started working, because the whole pattern, we realized, depending on which direction you look at a whole pattern, it can get like noisy, but if you choose the right direction of the whole pattern, I don't know if you can catch that on the camera, but this would be the subwoofer in the door. Yeah. And looking down this direction, you get a very nice whole pattern, which has a nice finish all the way around, and you have nice direction. So we started working on each and every grille, finding out what is the line of sight sitting in your seat, looking at the grille, and that's from that direction it needs to look the best. And so here you can see like a mid-range from the door. You would look at this direction, if you can catch that. And so you get very nice lines that direction, whereas were you to look from this direction, it gets a little more messy. And of course, a big part of automotive also were the acoustical lenses, which were a perfect match for a car industry in the sense that it was something very special compared to what was on the market at the time. Mm-hmm. And again here, the first generation of acoustical lenses with the magic of actually moving up when you turn on the system. They would sit on each corner of the dashboard, and this one would appear. And that was just something special, and because of the way it disperses the sound in the car, it was quite a good match actually for how to get a good soundstage sitting in a car. And I know from the engineers this was again a very big challenge, because, well, for one, the dashboard of a modern car is like the most cramped place, because there's so much technology in there. It's very hard to find room for anything that is not already in the dashboard. So you need to navigate across ventilation and light sensors and airbags and what have you in there. But they managed. And again, also temperature going from minus 50 in the coldest winters to plus, I don't know, 80, 90 degrees. So, and it still had to mechanically function. So that was a challenge, but they managed. That was the first generation. We also did for Aston Martin something looking a little more special. Basically the same hardware on the inside, but on the Aston Martin, which is like more like a hand-built car, you had different challenges, but also different possibilities. And we could do like a very nice aluminium plinth and cover here. And I think these turned out really something special. And they were color matched. I think Aston Martin really enjoyed, I mean, that's I think the idea, one of the ideas of the interior of Aston Martin, you can customize pretty much everything in the cars, and color matching is a big thing with aluminium compared to the rest of the interior. You need to really make sure that it stays this color for many, many years, sitting in the sun. So for B&O, that was a big part of making this concept work, and if anyone can do it, it would be B&O. Then for the second generation of the Audis, we developed a new lens, which were more automotive in its visual appearance, much more slimmed down, much more automotive in its shapes, and furthermore to accommodate the fact that there was getting more and more detail, or more and more components in the dashboard. It was angled 15 degrees, so the movement actually has slightly tilted mechanism, again to go closer to the windscreen without touching the windscreen. We did also, for this one is from an AMG Mercedes, we did some acoustical lenses which were fixed purely because there was no room in the dashboard of a Mercedes sports car to have some moving parts, so we had to do a stationary part. This one sitting just by the A-pillar in each side of the car. Yeah. And also we developed for the whole line of cars, I believe, B&O, of course, they define all the specifications for each unit they use in the sound systems. And so they had the idea, let's make a bespoke chassis for it also, so you can actually tell, should you take the car apart, yeah, this is a proper B&O driver. So this chassis is actually a B&O chassis made specially for the car, the automotive part. Excellent. And it comes in all sizes. Yeah, it's got a logo on there.
For me, it's really special to see the way it's developed, because my first involvement for my day job with B&O and making cables for them officially was with the launch of the Audi A8 on their stand at the Frankfurt Motor Show. Right, so, right. Yeah, that was the start of my official journey with B&O, supporting them. So, it's really special for me to sort of see the way that the design of the automotive speakers has come through.
One story about this one. This is from the parcel shelf of AMG's first of the new gull-wing door sports cars they made. There was one on each side of the parcel shelf. And this is actually steel, which has been special chrome plated. And the reason why it's not aluminium, which would be preferably the preferred material for B&O, is the fact that, coming back to colors and finishes, the automotive industry, they want coherence in their interiors, and Mercedes-Benz had developed this special semi-gloss chromed finish on all the metal parts in the interior. And B&O were fighting to find aluminium color that would match up good enough for Mercedes-Benz, and in the beginning they couldn't really make it. So they ended up doing the actual Mercedes-Benz finish on a steel part, and then later on I believe it became aluminium parts. But the first generation, they had to make it out of steel.
And do you have a favourite out of the series? Do you prefer the original styling or the way that it's developed?
I think I prefer, I think this when we developed this Audi A4 and system with the whole patterns, and we really researched and worked on the design development of how do we solve this, because we wanted to have these nice bespoke hole patterns for each and every grille. That was a huge challenge, and we worked many hours on this. But you know, once you achieve something and you find out it actually works, I mean, then we started to see other car companies doing copies of things like that. Then you know you hit something right. Right. Yeah.
Now, what's the saying? Imitation is the biggest form of flattery?
I think so, yeah.
Yes,
yeah. So I think this is the one that stands out, that we managed to obtain some of the quality from the original concept, but at a more affordable level. So, and that proved the concept for Audi. Okay, Audi and B&O can be not only in the very high-end cars, but also in the more premium segment. And B&O and Audi agreed on the second generation that we need two parallel lines of systems, the premium line and the high-end line, or the advanced system, I think it was called. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much covers the three generations of B&O systems for Audi cars and some of the other cars we did.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.